Greetings YouTube, Skill Incarnate back with the second episode of my indie game showcase series, where we have a little bit of a look at games that I've received from developers, and I let you know which ones you want to try out and which ones you may want to avoid. Now the first game is called Jump King, and the best comparison I can make with this game is if you took Mario Brothers and Dark Souls and mashed them together. Jump King is a pure jumping game, that is all you'll be doing, but these jumping puzzles are no joke. I've been struggling with this game for at least 4 or 5 hours so far, and I really haven't gotten that far into the game. Now I had a look at some people who have played the game, and there are some freaks on YouTube that was able to finish this game without making a single mistake. I am not one of those people, unfortunately, but I can definitely say my problems with the game more lie with my inexperience in this type of game rather than the quality of the game itself. I definitely recommend you go try this one out if you are a fan of difficult platformers. Keyword being difficult. But go check this out, and hopefully you may get some enjoyment out of this, and hopefully you're a little bit better at it than what I am. Let's move on to the next game. And for the next game in our lineup, we have a funny one called Guns, Vodka, Balalaika. Now in this game you play a bear with an unfortunate problem with alcohol, who has decided to take on the Russian or the Nazi army by himself. Now there's a lot of memes in this game, there's a lot of achievements that come up. I mean, if you're one of those people that wants to get thousands of achievements, this is one of those Russian meme games, like Vladimir Putin Simulator. I must admit, I do play them, it's a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. As you can see, these are going to pop up every 5 seconds. You can get thousands of achievements from this game. They don't mean anything. But I've got to admit, I had a bit of a chuckle playing this game. Now, on to the problems. We've got one level, hilariously bad enemy models. Some of them don't even hold their guns. They flop over like a rag doll when they die. There's no sort of progression system, one weapon in the game. In fact, this whole game is a bit more of a tech demo than an actual game. But I don't know why, despite myself, I found myself enjoying it. Would I recommend it to other people? It's a very acquired taste. You're going to probably get a couple of hours of enjoyment out of this, and then you'll probably have had enough. This is all there is. There aren't any extra levels yet. But the developer is planning an update to the game. So there's going to be some additional levels, some additional weapons, I think, as well, because it desperately needs them. There's just not enough content here at the moment. There's not enough to have someone enjoy themselves for any more than an hour or two. But if you like those Russian meme games, if you like games where you can earn a couple of thousand achievements in a matter of minutes, then this game's probably for you. Anyone else, you might want to give this one a miss. But, I don't know why I like these games. I have a problem, guys. Let's move on to the next game. And for our next game, we have Ecto Librium by Void Calls. Ecto Librium has you playing the role of the Outlier, an alien organism that has been trapped on a foreign world. The only way off is to help the residents overthrow a hostile alien presence. Now this game's greatest strength is in the controls, which are very simple and easy to pick up. The puzzles are very interesting and they do get challenging later on into the episode, and the enemies have quite a bit of variety too. Now what this game does fall down a bit is the graphics are a little bit inconsistent. As you can see, we have a mix of 2D and 3D, and in some areas it works really well, like the main character. In other areas, not so well in the background. As you can see, some of the textures are very plain, and the game does give the vibe of feeling unfinished. Now, speaking of unfinished, the game is episodic, so the developer is working on more content and further episodes, but this game, or at least this episode, will take you around 6 to 7 hours to complete, depending on your skill level and if you want to get all of the collectibles. The game is currently about $8 Australian on Steam, and that's not too bad of a price. However, if you do want to pick this game up, you may want to wait and see when the future episodes come out. Everyone who gets this game obviously will have access to the future episodes. They're not going to be DLC. The developer's not going to mess people around with that, or I wouldn't even bother recommending it. So have a look at this game. Maybe if you see it on special, have a look, see if you want to try it out. Just be aware it is a little bit short, it does feel a little unfinished, and it does need a bit of polish. Let's have a look at the next game. And for the next game in our lineup, we have Guroopia by small one-man development team Josh Sullivan. Guroopia places you in the role of a man who has been trapped by a dream wizard. The wizard is keeping you in this place until you are able to collect all of the blue orbs for him. There are some gravity bending puzzles, and this game is not easy at all. In fact, you're really going to struggle the first time you play this game. I'm still learning the mechanics myself. But it's a lot of fun. It's a simple concept, and it's a very inexpensive game, with the deluxe edition being available for $5. I also like the ability to wear fancy hats. That always helps in any game. So if you like these simple games, you're looking for something that's inexpensive, then check Guroopia out. I think you may enjoy the experience. On to the next game. And for the next game in our lineup, we have Mars Power Industries. In this game, you play the administrator of a Martian colony, your goal simply being to provide power to the colony. Now you do this via a number of logic puzzles, and they start off very simple and gradually up the difficulty as you go. The puzzles don't have a time limit, so newer players can sit back and relax, using trial and error to work out the game's mechanics. Anything you drop down can be removed from play, like so, without a penalty. So this is a very simple, casual puzzle game, and it was very well received. In fact, it's won a heap of awards. I probably don't even need to recommend it, but if you do want a simple puzzle game, if you do have some younger children, maybe with an interest in electronics, then they may like this game. Check it out. It's around $4 to $5 for the game, Australian, so it's at that price, it's definitely one I can recommend. Let's have a look at the next game. The next game we have in the lineup is called Solaria. It's a platforming parkour style game where you compete against your personal best and your friends as you try and climb to the top of each level. You can see that your personal best is shown as a ghost character racing alongside you. Now this game is very challenging, and these aren't historically games I'm very good at, but I have been enjoying myself so far. So if you guys like these sort of games, you may want to check Celaria out. Now, in terms of price, it is a little bit expensive, because it's around $21 Australian, and I think that's probably a little bit too expensive. But if this is the sort of thing that you're into, or if you see this game on sale, you may want to give it a go. It's a fun game, and I definitely have been enjoying my time so far. It's nice to see other players, how they've fared playing the game, and it's a good way to learn how to play the game as well, by learning from other people's mistakes, and also your own. So go and have a look at this game, maybe pick it up when it's on sale, or if you're a hardcore parkour fan, you may get a bit of mileage out of this one. Anyway, on to the next game. For the next game on the list, we have All Day Dying, and this is a first-person time attack game, which is very impressive. It's a first-person Max Payne meets Super Hot style game, with a time attack mode. In fact, there's a number of different challenges in the game. It does encourage you to complete levels as quick as possible, with a variety in killing the enemies to get a high score. Really love this game, and the kicker is that it was done by a single developer, Paulo Lopes. He reached out to me wondering if the game was any good. Well, Paulo, I'm still playing it, mate. I do recommend this game wholeheartedly. I have seen worse titles out of entire development teams. So I'm looking forward to see what Paulo can do in future. I would love to see any future work by him, and I reckon this is going to be a classic on Steam. Is it a recommendation from me? Automatic recommendation. Go and try this out. This is probably one of the best games of the entire bunch that I've reviewed today. Go and check it out. Next game. And for the next game in our lineup, we have a free title called Hard Times by one-person development team Radical Fiction. Hard Times places you in the role of a man or woman who, due to some pretty bad circumstances, has been made homeless. Your goal is to simply remain alive in a society that cares very little for you. It's a very interesting take on a very real-world problem, and if you don't mind games that are a little bit minimalistic in their interface, this game is completely free, so there's no reason not to try this one out. Check it out if you're looking for something that's a little bit different and you want to support a developer that has definitely had some hard times himself. On to the next game. And for the next game in our lineup, I wanted to show you a title that isn't yet out on Steam called Mortal Glory. Mortal Glory is a turn-based strategy game set during the time of the Roman Empire. You control a ragtag group of gladiators trying to earn their way to fortune and glory. Now, this game has a rather minimalistic approach, and that may put off players, but it is a lot of fun and it does encourage you to think a little bit strategically like most turn-based games do. Now, whether I would recommend this game, it's hard to say without having some experience in whether the price will be reasonable or not. The game is, at the moment, a lot of fun. I do like the random nature of the game. Sometimes you can have a really easy run, sometimes it's very hard, but one thing is for sure, you're going to have a lot of challenge playing this game. I've had 3 or 4 runs, I still haven't managed to make it to the end, and I'm playing on the easiest setting. So if this is something that appeals to you, like all of the other games, I will leave a link in the description, and you can let me know if this is something you'd like to see more of. Moving on to the next game. And for the next game in our lineup, we have Philophobia, The Fear of Love by one-person development team Tim Ruswick. In Philophobia, you play the role of a man who has gone through a very painful breakup, along with a suicide attempt. So it is a very dark game. You are trying to navigate the 5 stages of grief, which are represented by 5 different worlds, each more challenging than the last. Now, what I really liked about this game is the way that love is represented. The traditional symbols of love are actually harmful and deadly in the game. You want to try and avoid them. And the use of shadows and the clever visuals also make this game very appealing to me. Anyone who has played Super Meat Boy and is looking for a fresh challenge is definitely going to get a kick out of this game. I really enjoyed it, and I also think you'll get a lot of playtime out of this. I've only finished the first episode, and I guarantee it's going to take you at least 5 or 6 hours to finish the game if you're a talented platformer. Let's move on to the next game. Next we have what I believe is the most unique game in the lineup so far, Loop the Distress Call from Advenworks. This is a visual novel style game where you play the role of an investigator who has received a series of distress calls from a ship infected with an unknown virus. You interact through messages with one of the surviving crew members, working together with her to solve the problem of the ship going offline and also to save the crew. When you're not playing, you can also receive messages from the game and interact if you feel like you want to play the game outside of the core experience. Now, I thought that was a pretty novel concept, and to be honest, mobile games are pretty hard to find, or decent ones, so I was definitely interested in giving this one a try. I am playing this at the moment on an emulator to get some better footage, but this will be available for Android and for the Apple iPhone. So if you want to know more, I will include the developer details in the description of the video. On to our next game. I've saved the best game for last, and this is Z Dawn, a turn-based strategy game set during the zombie apocalypse. And that's definitely something that I would be interested in, and something you guys would enjoy as well. Z Dawn places you in control of a ragtag group of survivors trying to make their way through a world controlled by the undead. Now, if you can get past the minimalist interface of the game, there's surprisingly a lot of depth here. Each of the characters have their own abilities and skills, their own preferences. You have to manage hunger, you have to manage morale, and you also have to make sure your characters don't get eaten by the zombies. There's a bit of base building in here as well, and there's so many different mechanics in the game, I haven't even discovered them after playing this for a couple of hours. Indeed, this is a very difficult game, but one that I think people who enjoy Project Zomboid and zombie survival games, along with turn-based strategy, will enjoy. So I would recommend it if you are into those sorts of games. I still have to play a lot more to understand a lot of the more advanced mechanics of the game, but I keep coming back again and again. This is a difficult game, you will die a lot, but Project Zomboid players are already going to know that. So that was it from me today. I'm going to save this for a future video when I may do a more lengthy review of the game. And for now, I'm going to recommend you guys have a look. This is a game that people who enjoy apocalyptic games, enjoy turn-based strategy games, are definitely going to get a kick out of. Now, if you want to know about any of the games that were featured in this video, then I will leave more details in the description. But for now, I will leave you and I'll play a little bit more of this game. If you want to know more about anything, please reach out to me. I'd love to hear your opinion on any of these games. Did you try them? Did you enjoy them? And do you know of any others that I should be looking at in future? I would love to hear your opinion. That was it from me. Hopefully you'll join me next time when we look at another indie game. Until then, Skill Incarnate, out.